Hello loves, let's move through a strengthening and sculpt practice today based from chair pose, Utkatasana. I have a set of small weights. I've got 3-pounders ready to go. You can use lighter, you can use slightly heavier, or you can use no weights. Be sure to do a little warm up and get your spine moving first, and I will meet you in Tadasana. Finding the soles of your feet in your Tadasana, mountain pose. Feeling grounded, feeling steady. Feeling the crown of the head growing long and tall, away from the rest of the body. As if you're drawing length, drawing space in the spine, space between the vertebrae. With your next inhale, sweeping the arms wide and overhead, find a little back bend as you bring the gaze up through the fingertips. Lift yourself back to neutral toss. Finding the soles of your feet in your Tadasana, your mountain pose, feeling grounded, feeling supported. Feeling that earthward energy at your feet. Imagine the crown of the head growing long and tall. Spaciousness in the tissues, spaciousness in the spine. Keeping that sense of spaciousness. Inhale to sweep the hands overhead, finding your upward hands or upward salute pose. And then send the hips back and down as you reach the fingertips and the crown of the head forward. A little more weight comes into the heels. We keep the spine neutral, biceps, frame the ears. Fierce pose, Utkatasana, chair. Glance down, make sure you can see your toes. Notice how you're feeling in the low back. Make sure you're not super swayed or super tucked, but right in the center, and the low back feels good. Find a breath here. Big inhale, reaching through those fingertips. Exhale, allow the palms to meet and draw toward heart center. Bend more deeply into the knees, deep in your chair. Inhale, press into the feet. Lift, open wide, back into upward hands or upward salute. Exhale through chair, this time drawing the hands right through heart center. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, lower. Flowing once more, and then pausing in your chair, hands to heart. Allowing your weight to come over toward your left foot. Lift your right heel, slide that right foot out to the right side as far as you can, maintaining your balance. Slide that foot back in, planted next to the left foot. Let your weight come to your right. Lift your left heel. Slide that foot out as far as it will comfortably go to the left. Slide it back in and plant it. We'll move through that a few more times, or bring your weight to your left. Lift your right leg fully. Draw it all the way out to the side. Tap down your toe. Lift it back. Plant it, weight comes to the right, lift the left, bring it out, tap the toe. So slide or lift and float. We'll do a few more times each side. And after your last one, go ahead and find your way back to your chair pose. Sink a little more deeply into that chair. And then inhale your way back up to tall mountain or upward salute. Exhale, send those hips back and down. Find your chair. Bring your weight forward onto the toes and the balls of the feet, lifting the heels, finding a balancing chair. Pause. Lowering the heels down. Pressing your way up, upward salute. Exhaling, chair. Bringing the weight forward onto the toes and the balls of the feet, lifting the heels, balancing chair, pause. Lowering those heels back down, inhaling, lift, upward hands, tall mountain. Exhaling, chair. Palms gently resting together at heart center. Bring your weight all the way over to your left foot. Lift your right heel. Slide that right foot all the way back your mat. Touch down only the toes and the balls of the foot. Right toe still pointing directly toward the top of your mat. Bring it back to the point where your left knee lands directly over your left ankle for high lunge or crescent pose. Lean yourself forward so the crown of your head is pointing directly toward the corner of your wall and ceiling. And then keeping your pelvis square to the front of your mat, keeping your left knee aligned directly over your ankle. Big inhale, exhale, draw your right elbow toward your left knee. Revolved lunge. Bring your way back toward center. Lift that crown of the head right over the hips for a moment. Just reach your hands up overhead. Find that crescent pose variation, little back bend. Bringing the hands back down to heart center. Another big lean forward. Deeper bend in the left knee. Tippy toes on the right. Slide or lift and float that back foot all the way forward. Chair pose. Inhale, lifting through your upward hands. Tall mountain. Exhaling, hands to heart, hips back and down, Utkatasana. Bringing all your weight to your right foot, lift that left heel, slide, scoot, or lift and float it back the mat. Find that high lunge position, right knee lands right over our ankle. Taking a little lean forward, big inhale, keeping that knee aligned over the ankle, hips are square to the front of our mat. Left elbow reaches toward right knee. Lifting your way all the way back up toward neutral for a moment. Send those hands overhead, little back bend. Getting ready to find our way back to chair. We draw back to neutral spine, hands to heart. Lean forward, deep bend right, tippy toes left. Slide, scoot, or lift and float that foot forward. Chair pose, this time melt over to forward fold. Leading from the crown of the head, rounding that spine down, releasing the fingertips down toward the floor. Big bend in the knees, soft, soft spine. Walk your hands over toward the outside edge of your right foot. Walk your hands back through center, over toward the outer edge of your left foot. Walk your hands back through center. Slow roller circle, sweep your way back up. If you're slow rolling, find a nice big shoulder shrug at the top. And we're back in Tadasana, mountain pose. And then moving into a little flow with the legs from chair pose. I'll show it first without the weights and then with. So beginning the same way from your Tadasana, inhaling to lift the hands, exhaling to find your chair first with hands to heart center, sending those hips back and down, checking in, finding your version of chair that feels good. And then bringing all your weight over to your left foot. You're going to press up towards standing. As you do, lift your right leg, lift that knee all the way up so thighs parallel to the floor. And then as you send it back down, bend into that left knee. So we're back in our chair. Opposite side, pressing into the right, lift the left, and coming back down. So continue with this side to side movement, or if you'd like, grab your weights. Find your chair, bringing weights up to the caps of the shoulders, and we'll add a shoulder press. Pressing one side, lifting opposite knee, hands reach up toward the ceiling, sinking back into your chair, hands come to the tops of the shoulders. So we'll flow a few more times each side for those of you who had to take a moment to get situated with your weight. And after your last round, we'll pause in center, bring in hands or weights to heart center. Pressing straight into the feet. When you get to the top, just a little back bend, letting the heart open and the gaze come high. Lifting back to neutral, holding those hands or weights at heart center. We'll sink back and down into our chair pose. Pause. Take your hands or your weights alongside the tops of the thighs, palms facing up, and then slide your hands a little further away from you, and then row your hands, or supinated, row your hands back in so those hands draw in toward the low ribs. Reaching away, elbows almost straight, drawing in, elbows pulling behind us. And we'll do one more. This side after your last one, letting those hands or weights come back to heart center, pressing straight into the legs. Just finding that little arch in the back for a moment as you lift the heart, lift the gaze. And finding your way back down into your chair. Those hands or weights are at heart center for just a moment. We're going to bring all our weight back over to our left leg. We're going to lift that right heel, slide it back, find your high lunge or crescent pose. Keeping the hands here if that feels good, resting the hands down alongside the hips if that feels good, or adding another shoulder press here. Hands or weights come to the caps of the shoulders. We sink that right knee down, deeper bend in the left, as if we're going to try to touch the right knee to the mat as we do those hands reach. Then we come back through where we started, and then we almost straighten the left knee while the right heel presses toward the floor. Coming back through where we started, sinking toward the floor, hands reach. Lifting back up, both knees almost straight, right heel reaching for the floor. Find this movement a couple more times this side. After your next one, meeting back in that position right between the two. So right heel's a little more lifted, left knee directly over my ankle. I'm going to bring my hands or my weights snugged right back into heart center. I'm going to take a big lean forward, deeper bend on the left, slide, scoot, or lift and float. Right foot forward, chair pose. Press yourself tall, little back bend, open the heart, lift the gaze. Lifting back to neutral, send the hips back and down, chair pose. Weight comes to the right. We lift that left heel, slide, scoot, or lift and float it all the way back. Take a moment to check in with the sensation of your pose and your alignment here. Make any adjustments. Choose the arm variation that feels best. This side, maybe you're adding a little more movement with arms or weights. As we start to sink that left knee toward the floor, maybe the arms reach up for the ceiling. Flowing once more this side. After that last one, bringing yourself back to that high lunge or crescent pose shape. We'll tuck hands or weights back to heart center. Find that big lean forward. Tippy toes on the left, deep bend on the right. Slide, scoot, or float it forward, chair pose. This time melting your way over to forward fold. Leading from the crown of the head, melting your way over. When you get down into that soft fold, if you have weights, set your weights aside. Find a little movement in your fold, walking your hands to the outer edges of your feet or figurating the hips. Getting ready to start a slow roll, or if you like, take a circle sweep. If you're slow rolling, when you get to the top, find that shoulder shrug. Find your Tadasana. Inhaling, sweeping the hands. Exhaling, find your chair, hands to heart variation. Adding a little balance, flowing directly from our chair into a version of standing pigeon or standing figure four. So again, we're going to bring weight over to the left leg. We're going to lift that right heel. We're going to try to lift the leg. Externally rotate your right hip so your knee goes out to the right, your ankle goes to the left, and then we're going to lift that ankle just inside the left knee on the lower part of the thigh. And then if you can go a little deeper in your chair, sink yourself a little bit deeper. If you want, you can release those hands overhead, biceps frame the ears, reaching through your fingers. Beginning to press into that left foot so you can straighten your left knee a little. Slide that right leg back down. Let it meet the floor. Chair pose. Press into the feet. Straighten the spine. This time bring your hands all the way overhead for your back bend. Interlace the fingers at the base of the skull. Draw those elbows toward the space behind you as you open through the heart. Lifting your way back up toward neutral. Big inhale as you release the hands overhead. Exhale, find your chair. Let a little more weight come over to your right leg so you can lift that left heel. If it feels okay, we'll lift the leg. Externally rotate the hip. That ankle lands on the thigh just inside the right knee, and we sink more deeply into that chair shape. Pause. Notice your breath. Can you soften and slow into the breath a little? Pressing into that standing foot, straighten that right knee just a little so you can slide your left foot back down. You're back in your chair. Inhaling, releasing the hands, coming all the way up into that upward hands, upward salute, tall mountain, back bend, interlace the fingers at the base of the skull, really open, elbows draw back and down. Lifting back toward neutral, release those hands overhead, release the fingertips. This time, dive over to forward fold. Soft knees, soft spine, dangling down, any movement that feels good. And then inhaling to a half fold. Knees are mostly straight, but not locked. Spine is long and neutral. One more big inhale. As you exhale, soften everything back over, forward fold. Inhale, slow roll or circle sweep your way back up. Find your mountain pose. If you're slow rolling, find that big shoulder shrug up, back down at the top. Tadasana. And from here, you're ready to flow right into the next part of your practice or your wind down and stretch. Thank you.